Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Irene Sofia binti Muhammad Hasikin. My matric number is 252600. I will present about the description of the plywood. Our group have decided to export the product to Japan. The product that we choose to export is plywood. The company that we choose is Ta'an Holdings Berhad. There are 4 main founders of this company, which is Dato' Amar Abdul Hamid bin Haji Sepawi, Dato' Wahab bin Haji Dola, Dato' Sri Ding Jack Sung, and Dato' Wong Kwa Hea. This company is based in Sarawak, Malaysia. Ta'an Group was existed in 1985 and was incorporated as a limited public company on 3rd February 1997. Ta'an Group have started as a license for forestry, concessions, timber harvesting, shipping operations, and downstream timber industry. There are a few entities that involved in the logging activities, such as Pasin Sdn Bhd as a timber license, Harewood Sdn Bhd as a logging contractor, and Queenstead Sdn Bhd as a marketing arm. In 1991, as a support to the Sarawak government's initiative in developing the downstream timber industry, Ling Shen Sawmin Sdn Bhd have established for the manufacturing operations. In 1991, the produce of the product is the sawn timber and the kiln-dried timber. After 3 years, they produce the moldings and finger joints. And after 4 years, they produce the laminated timber product. But in 1993, only Ta'an Plywood Sdn Bhd was established in the producing of the plywood products. Because of the group commitment have shown an expeditious growth of production, because from 1993 until 2009, mostly Ta'an Plywood have conquered the market, but the company was expanding to downstream processing activities in 2007 with the current workforce about 6,300 employees. From the Star Online, Japan is Ta'an's largest plywood export market because in 2018, 91% of the plywood has been exported to Japan. In 2018, the product produced about 127,661 of plywood. For the past 2 years, Ta'an plywood products have been exporting to Japan due to the high demand of the product. Even though there was a competitive in plywood market in Japan, Ta'an is at a strong position in the market. With their continuous effort in product development, marketing research, and development in meeting Japan's stringent requirements in a suitable manner. So that's all for my presentation.
So, we decided to export the plywood to the Japan because the growth of Malaysian production of plywood was driven by the foreign market demand. So, Ta'an Holding is one of the company that export the plywood to the Japan, and they are well known in that country and also have influence in plywood supplier to Japan. Other than that, Ta'an Holdings Berhad also predict a strong output for their business production of the plywood, and they have advantages over its competitors in selling tropical plywood to the Japan due to the implementation of new policy, which is new timber procurement policy in the Japan. Despite Japan's competitive plywood industry, Ta'an Holding remains in a good marketplace in supply the plywood to the Japan, while to meet the Japanese requirement in a sustainable manner. Due to the recent typhoon that occurred in Japan, so Japan importers are reported to beef up imports of tropical plywood due to the demand for the reconstruction work. So, since the recent typhoon that occurred in Japan, Japan has recently stepped up to buy the plywood from other countries due to the demand for restoration process. So, we can see that from this, Japan demand for the plywood is increased due to typhoon. So, Ta'an Holding is one of the company that export the plywood to Japan will have benefits from this. So in 2019, Japan retained its position as Sarawak plywood top buyer. So it means that Taan Holding become the company that always export the plywood to the Japan, and Japan always become the country that buy the plywood from the Sarawak, which is Taan Holding Berhad. So they took these opportunities to export the plywood to the Japan, and then according to JLR, Japan Lumber Report, the prices for the plywood is increasing due to the hot demand for the storm maintenance. So by exporting the plywood, Taan Holding managed to help them in the restoration process and able to generate more income due to the hot demand. And then the growth of Malaysian plywood production increased day by day due to the demand from Japan due to the typhoon that occurred in Japan. So by exporting the plywood, it can bring more revenue, increase sales, and stabilize the export performance of the country. Okay, for the competitors, we can say that Indonesia is one of the country that become a competitors for Malaysia in exporting the plywood to the Japan. So, based on the report, around January and May 2019, the average volume of import from Malaysia was around 90,000, and then it fell to 77,000 in June, according to the International Tropical Timber Organization. So we can say that it's dropped due to the Indonesia, as Indonesia has exceeded than Malaysia in exporting the plywood to Japan. The amount of plywood imports by Indonesia to Japan surpassed Malaysia on the first month in June 2019 in recent years. So we can see that the volume of import that fell and dropped during June 2019 is due to the competitors, which is Indonesia. Due to the strong competition from Indonesia supplier and strong growth in demand and plywood production in Japan, Malaysian plywood producer lost their market share in Japan due to the Indo, which is our main export market. And then Indonesia has won over Malaysia as a larger exporter to the Japan in exporting the plywood to the Japan. And then the export of plywood from Indonesia to Japan is exceed Malaysia value. However, Malaysia managed to earn 526,800 and 490,900 in plywood sale to Japan and beat Indonesia in the first 6 months of the year.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good day. My name is Norhana binti Ramlan 252704. So I will proceed with the descriptions of how the plywood will be transported from Malaysia to Japan. So the above will reflect the responsibility of both buyer and seller during the delivery and shipment process by following the Incoterm 2011. So here is the table about the Incoterms 2011. There are several phases that need to be followed, which is EXW, FCA, FAS, and etc. So we will start first with EXW. EXW is the X work. So from this, Toyo Plywood will order a plywood from Taan Plywood Sdn Bhd, and the seller will make sure that the goods, which is the plywood, available at the locations. And during this, the buyer will bear all costs involving transportation, the duties of export, cargo insurance, as well as the risk to transport goods to final destinations. Second, FCA or free carrier. So during this phase, Taan will deliver the plywood to the carrier at Kuching Port, then will clear the goods to export to Japan. From this place, the buyer started to bear all the costs and risks. Next is FAS. FAS is free alongside ship. So for this phase, Taan delivers the plywood at Kuching Port and will clear the goods for the export. The responsibility of Taan ends here, as the Toyo Plywood will continue to bear all costs and risks. Next, FOB. FOB free on board. Taan will deliver all the plywood to the cargo. They load the goods on board the ship and clears the goods for the export. Toyo Plywood is responsible for all the import formalities. and the FCA terms changed to permit the parties agreeing in issuing bill of lading to the Taen once the goods arrive at the port. CFR Cost and Freight. The plywood arrive at Nagoya port. Taen will pay for transportation to the port, loading and also freight. Toyo Plywood will pay for insurance and transportation from Nagoya port to the factory. The passing of risk occur when the goods pass the ship rail at the port of shipment. Next phase is CIF. CIF is cost, insurance and freight. So during this phase, Taen will clear the plywood for export and cover the cost of insurance and main carriage to Nagoya. The risk of loss or damage to the plywood passes to the Toyo Plywood when the plywood is loaded on the board of cargo. Toyo Plywood is responsible to on carriage cost and unloading cost. Next, CPT, carriage paid to. So during this phase, Taen will clear the goods for export and pays for carriage to Nagoya. Taen will cover cost for carriage while Toyo Plywood will cover for receiving cargo insurance. And CIP, carriage and insurance paid. So during this phase, like CPT also, but there has additional obligation for purchasing insurance to cover the Toyo Plywood risk during transportation. Next, DAT, delivered at terminal. So during this, the plywood delivered at Nagoya City. Taen will cover the freight charges and risk when the goods are unloaded at the terminal. Taen will also responsible for export clearance. DAP, delivered at place. So during this, the plywood arrive at Toyo Plywood like DAT, but Taen's responsibility will finish once the plywood is ready to be unloaded at the Toyo Plywood. And the last one is DDP. DDP is delivered duty paid. So during this phase, Taen will cover all costs and risks until the plywood successfully delivered and paid.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nonaja binti Muhammad. My metric number is 256162. Okay, now I will explain about the name of the city and country, the language they use, the approximate population of the city, the type of economic system, market, the type of government structure, and the description about the country's infrastructure. Okay, the first one is the name of the city and country. Our product, which is plywood, will be exported to Nagoya, Japan. They use Japanese as their main language. Next, for the approximate population of the city, which is Nagoya, reported by the Worldometer, the current population for Nagoya city are 2,191,279 millions people approximately. Okay, as we all know, Japan is very popular with their up-to-date technology and the world's second largest advanced economy. Okay, Japan use free market economy system where they are the third largest in the world. Okay, next, for the type of governmental structure, Japan's government is a constitutional monarchy where the power of emperor is limited to only ceremonial duties. This government was divided into three branches, consist of executive, legislative and judiciary. Okay, now I will describe about the Japan's infrastructure consists of roadways, waterways, railways and also the number of airports. Japanese roadways measure over 1,280,000 kilometers. For waterways, they have 1,770 kilometers reported from then until now. Japan have 16,852 kilometer lengths of railways, and the last one, they are reported to have total 98 airports, included the international airports in Japan, the largest until the small civil airports in Japan.
There are two main religions in Japan, which is Shinto and Buddhism. Shinto is as ancient as Japanese history. Through in the 6th century, Buddhism has been introduced from the mainland. Since then, the two faiths have coexisted harmoniously, and to some point even also complemented each other. The majority of Japanese citizens consider themselves as a Buddhist, Shintoist, or both. Yen is the official Japanese currency. The symbol that they use is this, and the code they are used is this. It is the third most exchanged foreign currency behind the US dollar and the euro. Behind the US dollar, the euro, and the UK pound sterling, it is still commonly used as a reserve currency. The exchange rate in the dollar is 108 Japanese yen, equal to 1 United States dollar. GDP per capita is a measure of the economic performance of a country which accounts for its number of people. This separates the gross national product of the country by the total population. Japan GDP per capita is $39,293 compared to Malaysia only $11,072 for year 2018. That means people be able to afford the product because for marine plywood grade AA just only worth Rm 180 per piece. Philosophical and religious practices are the belief and rules which direct people through life through their decision and judgment. Over the course of Japanese culture, Japanese intellectual and religious practices have formed consequently of the coverages of various modes of thought. The Japanese culture gives the community or culture and its social purpose a great deal of significance as the nucleus through which work and community revolve. Therefore, as a part of a community, the person exists and his behavior should be respectful and sufficient to encourage cooperation with it. The traditional value and the characteristic that have driven the Japanese over most of the year tend to be essential in the way most adults behave in public today. Effectively communicating with Japanese business people remains to involve a detailed understanding of the significance of certain action, which represent their underlying culture, values, and social norms.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Siti Sarina binti Alias and my metric number is 256145. And now I will proceed with the description of how plywood will be modified to meet the need of the people in that country. So the first of all, the plywood or any wood is very important to all people in their life. There are so many things that made of wood, such as table, chair, house and so on. It same goes to Japan. Taan Plywood Sendirian Berhad will export plywood to Toyo Plywood Corporation, which is located at Nagoya in Japan. Generally, Malaysia forest, which is also known as a tropical rainforest, is rich with the tropical timbers. So that the Malaysian tropical timbers can be categorized into 4 categories, which are medium hardwood, heavy hardwood, softwood, and also the lightwood. So in order to manufacture the best quality wood, it comes from the hardwood categories. So therefore, there will be several modification of plywood before export to Japan. Plywood must be modified in terms of durability, immune to insect attack and fungi, and also durable in any conditions of weather. The first method to modify the plywood is by using preservative treatment. Preservative treatment, which is where plywood will be modified or treated with the preservative, and also fire retardants, FR chemicals, which can make plywood high durability. This kind of treatment have been used almost 40 years. Fire retardant FR treated plywood has been used for roof shipping in multifamily and also for non-residential construction. One alternative that uses preservative treatment is by using glue additive. This alternative that can make plywood hard to wet. However, termite attack still can occur. So, in order to overcome insecticides such as imidacloprid and also bifenthrin have been added to the resin, or also known as a wood. The one with hard resin or wood ratios is better because it performs like solid wood. Resin can act as a barrier between layers and also has low possibility from fungi and insect attack. Okay, for the second method is thermal modification. Thermal modification is to overcome the decay. It is one of the high temperature wood treatment technologies without oxygen excess air and also reduced water absorption. Thermal modification also can be known as heat treatment of wood, which can reduce shrinkage, swelling and improve heat insulation qualities. Other than that, to improve the water resistance is by using the method of oil heat treatment. Okay, the last method that we use is testing plywood in terms of 7 types of tests, which are consists of static bending, compression, tension, panel shear, rolling shear, shear modulus, and also the toughness. Generally, Korean polywood and Mersawa plywood have best performance rather than other species. But Kerwin is better than Mersawa. Therefore, the best plywood of Kerwin and Mersawa are comparable in strength or even better than other countries like those from Canada and United States.